Hey guys, welcome to Espresso Mike. Welcome to ESPRE Coffee. Today, the 5 considerations you need to make when thinking about or purchasing a home espresso machine. I know it's the holiday season's coming up, and you might be thinking about buying a home espresso maker. Well, there's a couple things you should consider, some technicalities you might not be aware of, and this program, special show today, is going to dive into all aspects of what you need to know before you purchase a home espresso machine. Again, guys, I'm Espresso Mike. Thanks for watching my channel. Each week we dive into the world of espresso, try new coffees, and analyze new techniques for making espresso and everything around the world of espresso. All right, so home espresso maker. This is the first thing you need to consider before you purchase one of these, and it's going to be your use case, right? Not your budget, but let's talk about your use case. How many times a month are you going to, or a week, a day, are you going to use this? Or is it a one-time thing before you leave to go to your office? Is it, all the time? Do you have a big family? Is it, whatever the application may be, right? Do you host a lot of parties, right? What is the application or use case for your espresso machine? If it's going to be 1 or 2 times a day, I think that really dictates the following: how much money you're going to spend on it, and a lot of other technical aspects about the machine. If you're going to use it more, and you definitely want to use them, these machines are made to be used, right? You don't want them to sit idle, because that's actually when some bad things could happen to them, right? So you want to use them, but you want to use them kind of within your own parameters. So that's the first thing. Please understand your use case for it, and where you're going to put this potentially in your kitchen or in your home will play a big factor. Now, knowing that, the next thing that comes into play is your budget. Of course, you can get espresso machines. I always say kind of entry-level one is the Breville. This is a Salmonelli one. This is their original or second series of their Oscar. You can get various espresso machines beyond that. You want a 1-group machine. I don't know of any home machines that would be considered a 2-group. 1 group means there's just one portafilter, so you can only put one portafilter in this. It also has, of course, your steam one. Some might have 2 steam ones, but I've never seen a true home machine that has 2 heads, or what they call 2 group heads. So you only need 1 portafilter. But those things to consider, the price range can be anywhere between like $500 and $6,000, right, for a home machine along those lines. Again, how much you're going to use it might determine what type of grinder you're going to get. If you're only going to use it once a day, or maybe 4 or 5 times a week, you could probably get by with like an Encore, like $150, $160 grinder. If you're going to use it a lot more, then you might have to step up to kind of like an entry-level espresso grinder, which is going to be $500 to $700. So that is a very, very big consideration. I know some of them have the grinder built into them, but again, I think those grinders are more geared for low usage, so please keep that in mind. But the second thing you need to consider about is your budget. So please be aware they can range. Again, make sure you know how you're going to use it, and also think about a grinder, because that's an extra expense. Now, diving into the technicalities of an espresso machine. Is it a plumbed-in line or is it a tank? Most of them are tanks. This one, of course, here has a tank. You can just pop it out of the back if I can get it out of here. But you just pour the water in here. It holds slightly less than, I think, just slightly over 1.5 gallons. I would say slightly less than 3/4 of a gallon. So plenty of water to make espressos and lattes, but you need to fill that up with purified or filtered water. Some of them have a line that comes in, some of them have a drain. Since this does not have a drain, you have to take this out here. You actually have to clean this after you use it. So just so you know that. You do if you have a drain too, but at least the water goes into your drain. But again, the tankless versus the plumbed in lines, that's a very, very key feature. You might have to get a plumber to do that if it's going to be near a sink. You can take the water off the sink. That'd be kind of my advice. You're underneath there, but depending on where you are going to put it, you could have to plumb a line into it and maybe even a drain into it. Most home ones do have a tank, but there are some that you can actually are hybrid ones where you can put a water line into it or just use the tank. So anyway, keep that in consideration. The higher cost ones obviously will have the plumbed in line. Kind of steps up a level in quality when they have that. So please consider that. Number 4, something people don't think about, the power source, right? This runs off a standard power source here in the United States. Many machines, though, are 220. Don't even ask what the one over there is. But some of them are 220, so they can heat up fast. Before you have to rewire your kitchen, your home, please look at that. This again is a standard, even though this is a good espresso machine by home standards, this also just runs off the 120 volt, but some of them require more power. So again, when you're in Europe, you could run into various different power sources, plugs, etc. So please know that before you buy one, so you don't have to rewire again your house. Finally, the size of the portafilter, a standard in an American bar, is going to be a 58 millimeter portafilter, and that would fit in here. And I could take this portafilter over and I could put it in our espresso machine here at the coffee shop, and that would be the same. Some of them, particularly the Breville, or some of them use a 55 millimeter basket, not a 58, and you couldn't use those portafilters. Also, some of the espresso equipment you might buy, your tampers and whatnot, would not fit your espresso machine. Different cup sizes, how they pour out. So keep that in mind, what your ultimate goal is. You know, we bought this because we thought one day we'd open a coffee shop, and a couple years later we did. So long story short, we were kind of training on the same equipment, size equipment and stuff that we'd have at the coffee shop. I don't think that should be the biggest consideration, but some of the peripheral stuff around your espresso machine, you do want to know the size of your group head. People don't think about that as well, because you could end up with a portafilter, and they aren't cheap, of the wrong size. So again, before you dive into budget, make sure you understand your use. That's going to help you understand your budget, which will include, do you need a grinder, and what size and what quality grinder you need. Follow that up by, do you water lines and power lines, and again, dive into the different sizes. You might want to keep an eye on how big the machine is. These are pretty compact, but sometimes they're too tall to fit on your shelves. You might put espresso cups or something on top of that. So please consider that. Finally, guys, if you have any questions, I have worked with most of the espresso machine. Finally, guys, if you have any questions, I've worked with most of the espresso machine equipment manufacturers and very well aware of what's out there, especially from a barista standpoint. So feel free to leave a question in the comments, and I hope you do get it. Finally, I'll say this: they're a lot of fun. They're very enjoyable. They're great to have when you're entertaining. So I would say, if you have the means, consider one. But if you do have questions, make sure you leave them in the comments, guys. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully you can subscribe here to Espresso Mike.